What's up, everybody? It's day 53 of 100 Days of Code. It's your boy Kendall. Once again, we are here again. We are here every single day bringing you the code, bringing you the info on what we're up to today as far as coding, as far as life, as far as liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Or so we say. Maybe just coding. But whatever the case, what's up, guys? Today we are talking about first, what are the rules of 100 Days of Code? Well, number one, we know it is always that we code 1 hour a day. Two, that we make ourselves accountable publicly to you find people on LinkedIn and Twitter and wherever else, YouTube, wherever else might be found. And three, that we talk about the thoughts and the feelings we have about the day. So, question is, what did we get up to today? Well, I just got back. Me and my wife just went to the pub and we had a nice little drink. So we've had a drink or two, which has been nice. Always good to go out and socialize. And, life isn't all about code, mostly about code, but not all about that. Had a nice little Peroni, so feeling good, feeling good. She had a nice little martini, so all happy. So, anyways, enough of the pleasantries. What did we get up to today? Well, today, we, of course, squatted it out as always. So every single day at School of Code, I'm doing this in conjunction, this 100 Days of Code in conjunction with School of Code, which is the best boot camp in the entire universe. It brings together all people from all backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, cultures, ages, all sorts of things. Brings them all together and is looking to diversify the tech industry and revolutionize it, which they're doing, which is awesome. So, today we looked at, first we did some squats, which we do every single day at School of Code. So we have thighs like thunder, which is awesome, and brains like it as well. We do our gratitude walls, so we were grateful for lots of cool stuff. And then after that, then we hopped straight into the fun. So we have like our quiz for the day. Did pretty good on the quiz today, so got most of them right. Got stuck a little bit on a multiple choice one, but mostly all right. Good quiz scores. So I'm taking in the content from the React testing library from yesterday, so that's good news. Then after that, then we went into a time where we started learning about Git. So obviously we know about GitHub and we know about Git already, and we've been doing it like every single day with our workshops and all the projects we've done. But we learned about Git branches today, because obviously we're going to be going into Project Week next week. So we read some documentation as we've been getting better and better at learning documentation, learning how to implement it, those sorts of things, and basically learned how to do it. So essentially, we use things like Git checkouts. So when you press Git branch, for example, you put that in the command line. That brings up which branch or which branches, that sort of thing. When you do Git checkout main, then of course you can switch your branch to the main branch. Or if you do Git checkout and then if you had another branch, you could then it could do that. You could do Git checkout minus B, and then, for example, readme dash content or whatever you want to call it. That creates a new branch, and you can change that branch by doing Git and then checkout and then the name of the branch, and then you change to that branch, and then you can get pushed to that branch. And the beauty of a branch is you might, in the real world in technology, or what we've been learning, is that you might have a main branch, and the main branch is sort of where the main code and the main product is, whatever you're working on. And you might be a developer on that particular branch. However, the main branch is where the main product lives. And you might need to have something you're working on, a component or something that's a little bit different. But you don't need to be working directly on the main branch, because that's where the main product is. You don't want to break anything or anything like that. So instead, you have something called a branch. And the branch is that code base, or it is that component that you're working on, but it's another little branch of it. Somebody else might have their own, right? And then what you can do is then you can Git push what's in your branch, and you can connect it to the main branch, right? And of course, when they receive it on the main branch on their side, so it might be the dev branch, it might be the production branch, it might be whatever it's called. And basically, then they can approve and they can review your request, what you sort of pushed up to them, and those sorts of things. And that's the way it works in the real world. So we learned a bit about that, which is really, really interesting, of how to switch back and forth. So then, of course, you do the normal git add, git commit, git push, that sort of good stuff. So we learned a bit about that. And then we had Nadim, who's awesome. We had Nadim come from Talus again, who is an absolute genius when it comes to coding, and just revolutionary when it comes to talking about anything coding. We also met one of his senior developers, one of Talus's senior developers, who is called Camille. And she didn't come from a tech background, but got into the tech industry into Talus, which is really, really cool. We looked at sort of the tech stack that they've got there at Talus. So they spoke a little bit more about sort of the tech stack that they work with. So things like, AWS and JavaScript and Node and all the different things that they work in. Things like PHP, things like React, GitHub, Slack, all the things that we've been using, Docker, Kubernetes, lots of cool stuff that they work in. So very interesting. And they gave another rundown on an introduction to RESTful APIs, because we're going to be, I think, revisiting those again. So they talked about RESTful APIs, again, being an architectural style centered around resources based on web standards in the HTTP protocol. So RE is representational, S is states, and then the T in REST is transfer. And REST is defined by a number of constraints, and these are the 4 that they covered in the presentation today. Uniform Interface, or Hate OS, which is quite a funny name. Client Server, Stateless, and then Cacheable. So they spoke a little bit more at those. They spoke about resources are fundamental building blocks of web-based systems. A resource might be a collection of objects or an individual object. A resource is identified by URI, or Uniform Resource Identifiers. A resource is manipulated through CRUD, or create, read, update, delete, one of our favorites that we've studied before. Operations which are usually mapped to HTTP methods such as post, get, put, delete. A REST API endpoint is defined by a combination of a resource URI and an HTTP verb that manipulates it. So we looked at a bit about that. We saw a nice quote from George Reese, which said, "For now, let's just say that if your API is redefining the HTTP verbs, or if it's assigning new meanings to HTTP status codes, or making up its own status codes, it is not restful." We looked at the different things like get, push, delete, patch, heads, all those different things and what they do. Once again, nice refresher. We looked at sort of different ranges, so like 100, 200 range. So 100 is informational codes, 200 codes are successful codes, so 200 is okay, or 201 is created. We looked at 300, which is things like redirection codes, through 301 is moved permanently. We looked at 400 codes. You've got the ever popular 400 bad request code, or 401 unauthorized, or 404. 500 server error codes. That means everything's like blown up. He mentioned as well. We looked at things like the different sort of the anatomy of the things. So we looked at base URIs, versions, path parameters, query parameters, cool stuff like that. Headers. We revisited JSONs. And they spoke about APIs are contracts established between you and your API customer. Make the API version mandatory and do not release unversioned APIs. So when you have APIs, if you are creating one or your version, make sure it's versioned. So you have V1, V2, and use a simple ordinal number, and don't use like dot numbers. So they give us some good practices. They talked about some URI versioning, lots of cool stuff like that, which is really awesome to hear a perspective from them on. So that was super cool. And then we did a presentation as well. So in the afternoon, we spent a bit of time looking at sort of different agile ways of working, since we've got Project Week next week. And we also have a hackathon tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be practicing probably some of our branching methods. But next week, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of talk. We had Joseph come in today and talk about team dynamics and things like that. He's the mindset guy. So he talked about lots of amazing stuff to do with mindset and all those sort of things as well. But with all that being said, we also in the afternoon we did like sort of agile methodology. So we looked up some really, really, really cool stuff. And we used some Japanese terms, which were really interesting. So agile methodology has things like Scrum. It has things, just different sort of styles of doing agile methodology. And everybody, depending on what room you were in, you explored a different methodology. And so what was interesting is that we got a chance to sort of explore one as a team. So we were broken up into teams of 4. And so today, our group looked at Kanban. Kanban is a method. So there were things like some groups were exploring stand-ups, retrospectives, story points, sprints and sprint planning, agile project management. We were looking at specifically Kanban method, right? And so we discovered a lot of cool stuff. I would just talk a little bit about that. So with Kanban, instead of a method where you have something like, use something like Trello or use something like Jira, and what you can do is you have like sort of things you work on today, and people have their sort of leadership. Everyone has a leadership role. And you might have to do things. You might have to say, well, this is the stuff we need to focus on today. Here's the backup log. Here's things that we're doing. And then here's things that are done. And you might have like sort of a workflow that works like that. And you have all these sort of small but not too small manageable things. And the Kanban is like keeping it visual, keeping it, you can do it by notes, you can do it by whiteboard, you can do it by any way. You can do it digitally by Jira or Trello. And so in our presentation, we created nice little PowerPoints and we demonstrated its use via Trello. So all in all, very good day, very productive, and learned a whole lot. So excited about tomorrow, the hackathon. But anyways, guys, that's day 53 of 100 Days of Code. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Peace out, and we'll see you guys soon.